Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. This is the IMDb studio at Acura Festival Village, man. And look, it's the cast and crew of 4 Good Days. Give it up for them, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm gonna ramp down the energy because, Rodrigo, this is a serious motion picture, correct?
Yes, I mean, serious sounds like a serious word, but yes, it's inspired by the lives of 2 women who appeared in an article by Eli Sassler in the Washington Post, and it's a mother struggling to keep her grown daughter from drugs for about 4 days, so she's eligible for a new treatment. So yes, it's specific.
What drew you to the material?
Obviously the problem of addiction is widespread, but in particular with this article, how the problem framed the mother-daughter relationship. It's a relationship that for me, even in the easiest of relationships, it's always full of very interesting fine print. If you frame it, within the problem of addiction, it's explosive. So I thought it was fascinating.
How do you pick a cast for a motion picture like that? I mean, clearly you guys have worked together a couple times, so maybe I'll call Glenn. How do you arrive at Mila?
I actually, in this case, I said, I'm always embarrassed to call Glenn. What if she doesn't want to do it? And John Avnet, our producer, said to me, what? Just call Glenn. And Mila was always game. Yes?
Like, I'm ride or die. I was there.
Yeah, she was game.
Was that the first time you met through this?
Yeah, we met at a deli in LA.
Is that where
John.
you decided to have your interview?
Yeah, we sat down, shot the and then I was like, I'm in.
Yes.
I mean, I wish it was much more than that, but it was like bagel and lox, and then
I feel incredibly ineffective right now. You guys keep interviewing yourselves. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. What is it like to play an addict? I'll be honest, when I read the breakdown for the movie, it made me very emotional. I've got addicts in my life and stuff like that. So what is it like to take on the role? You're the addict.
Yeah.
What is it like to take on that
It's a
role?
codependent. I mean, I will say the movie very much is about addiction in the sense that we are currently discussing it in, but it is also about addiction and in a whole, and it's very much a mother-daughter relationship where I would say we are, as a mother-daughter, are very much addicted to each other, but also to the circumstance. So it deals with a little bit of underlining of other addictions. But to go back to the drug aspect of it, full disclosure, I don't do drugs, right? So it is one of those things where it wasn't like I was like, oh, back in the day when I was.
Can't pull from something.
Doesn't happen. Fortunately or unfortunately, I am surrounded by it. I have lost friends to it, and I have friends currently in the process of struggling with it. So I don't know if you need to live it personally in order to understand it or just simply be affected by it. And I would say I've been affected by it. By being in the industry long enough, you accidentally do. So for me, the emotional aspect of it made sense. The physical aspect of it was something that I ended up having to do much more research on. So aside from like going to your NA meetings and going to that stuff, I had to actually go and physically, thank God for YouTube, look at the way addicts are during their first 3 days of addiction. So that the physical aspect, I did rely on YouTube and videos.
So this is very dramatic. Sounds more like a Black Swan-y kind of thing for you than the comedic stuff or the cartoony stuff.
Yeah.
You got a preference between the three, or is it as an actress you're like, I like doing it all?
No, that's not true. And everyone that tells you they do is a liar. I do whatever. Like, I loved acting, and I thought it was great, and I came off of 70 Show where everybody was like, back in that day, 20 plus years ago, people were pigeonholing you. Like, if you did television, you were just gonna do TV. And I was 21 and, full of myself, and I was like, that, I can do other things. And I ended up having to go and I had zero ego to audition, so I auditioned. Ended up doing, I want to say it was Forgetting Sarah Marshall, right? So that was a comedy.
Oh.
It's a great comedy.
Yes.
Then it became, well, now you're only gonna do romantic comedies. And I was like, no. So then I auditioned, and then I ended up doing Book of Eli. No, that's not true. Yeah, I ended up doing Book of Eli, which then led me to Black Swan, or vice versa. And then I had kids. And then while I had kids, I was like, I don't want to be in the headspace, because there is a different headspace that you're in if you're doing a romantic comedy versus doing this. And I was like, I want to be in a light space. I was getting married. I was having babies. Then my kids got old enough, and I was like, well, I can be dark again. And that's literally what happened. And I got so lucky with working with somebody like Rodrigo, let alone Glenn. I mean, Glenn knows how much I love her. But I will always say this about Rodrigo. I stopped having love for the industry over the course of just doing movies back to back to back that failed me in one way or another, whether it was artistically failed me or in some form I was like bummed by second day of production. I was like, why did I do this? I could be home with the kids.
Right.
This is the first movie that I can honestly say in years where I was so happy and understood why I was leaving my family every day. And I'm so grateful for that because it invigorated me again.
That's a high compliment for any director, for any filmmaker.
Yeah, you should expand on that.
I mean, and it's Glenn Close. I mean, there's so many aspects to this where I was like, God, how did I get here every day? But everybody was so grounded and so nice, and everybody knew why they were there. It was a heightened situation of 22 days.
Is that what you guys shot in, 22? Ooh,
Yeah.
that's nice. That's tight.
It was lovely. It was great. And anyone that tells you need 9 months to shoot a movie, you don't. You really don't. But it was wonderful. So yes, I mean, I can go on and on, but I feel like my time's up.
Let's jump over to you. The mother-daughter relationship, the first time you pop up on my radar, and I've loved you my whole life, since this movie, because this is a movie my father took me to see, and it was a movie that was probably above my pay grade at the time. I was 13 years old, but he felt he could trust me with it, and you played an amazing mom in that movie, The World According to Garp. Nurse Jenny Fields.
Yes.
My whole life, I've always loved you because of Nurse Jenny Fields. What is it like playing a mom in these circumstances, where you're the mom to somebody who is hurting in such a bad way?
Well, the thing that really pulled me in from the very beginning, because I thought it was a very elegant script, but the first scene, I said, I've got to do this because I've never been in this situation and I want to explore it. How can a mother lock her daughter out of the house when her daughter is obviously in such bad shape? And that's the first scene. And then I say, you weren't supposed to come back until you were clean. And I actually locked the door. And that to me was, as a mother, you don't know if you would be capable of it. So I wanted to know what had happened in this story that made this woman capable of that action at the very beginning of the film.
Is that level of investigation something that draws you into every part? Like at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I'm curious what that would be like, rather than just like, oh, I could play this. Like it sounds like what drew you to it was like, I'm completely unfamiliar with this.
Yeah, well,
I have to learn how to do it.
Well, yeah, you do. You have to get into somebody's skin. But it also, I mean, I'm very picky about scripts. And this was a smooth read. I mean, it's beautifully written by Rodrigo and Eli. And
Eli, who wrote the article, the original article.
They co-wrote it together. And everything was there, but there was enough left out that you had to fill in there was a lot to fill in. And that, to me, is an actor's dream, right?
It wasn't all spelled out. Like some scripts hand you something and you feel like it's preaching to you or at you. And I would say the why the characters did what they did was genuinely the most interesting. And even when I spoke, I think you had the same experience, spoke to the real mom and daughter. And even though I asked them the why, you don't ever get the real answer from an addict.
So you did
The
get
why,
to meet?
you say why, why, and it's the answering of the whys my whole career that have made, it's fascinating. You're like a, what is it? You're like a psychological archaeologist. You're digging down to figure out how somebody can do something like that.
Even like Cruella de Vil?
Oh, she was just bad.
Some stuff just fun
That
to
was
do.
easy. The badder she was, the funnier she was.
I'm going to hit you guys with some real quick questions and let you get out of here. What is the last show that you binged?
I binged an HBO show called Our Boys, about set in Israel, about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Top notch.
Excellent. Nobody has said that yet. Great pull. Mila?
This is Rodrigo Garcia. This is clearly the opposite, and I'm trying to think of a fake answer, but it's Cheer.
Be yourself,
Have you watched
be
Cheer?
Yourself.
Okay, it's a documentary. It's a docu-series on Netflix.
It's very good about
It's
the
not about the-
cheerleaders.
Yes, it's not a conflict between Israel and Palestine. Ugh, Glenn, please. It's a. Not only did my husband and I become obsessed with this TV.
It is very good.
Oh, it's because they're kids. Yeah, cheer. It's about a college that the stars of the college are the cheer squad, and they're about to go to Daytona for their big competition, and the heart. But guys, move on, Glenn. What's the next thing?
No, you're selling all of us, man. We're like,
Have
then
you
what
watched-
happens?
have you watched this?
No, but I'm about
Okay,
to.
so you start this and you think it's just gonna be about a competition, and you're like, I'm in. Like, I love a good, And I got my husband to watch it, who was like, oh my God, what? 40 minutes in, you realize it's so much about the struggle that each one of those kids had in their life that drove them to cheer, which of course, however they it is heartbreaking. It is literally like kids are abandoned, abused out of foster care. It is like heartbreaking. So all of a sudden you're like, I just want everyone to, like, you're just so invested in them winning this damn trophy out of Daytona. We started Googling them. We were like, where are they now? Like, what is happening to them?
After this, you're getting a call for season 2. I guarantee you.
right.
They're gonna be like, you have to pop in.
There's one lady that runs it, and she's like the heart and soul of it. She's like,
She's my favorite.
it's almost like the Israeli-Palestinians. It's like very similar.
Complicated, yes.
Glenn, do you binge
boy.
shows?
Not terribly often.
Glenn reads and does, she's smart.
I do puzzles.
She does puzzles.
I don't know. I had the movie I did last summer. I met, it was in Atlanta, and I hung out with Laura Linney, and I'd never seen Ozark, so I watched that.
Great show.
Which was incredible.
Totally like cheer guys.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And I just started watching, but you can't binge it because it's HBO, The Outsider. Have you watched that?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. You're a Jason Bateman fan, apparently.
Yeah.
It's good. It's been good
That's
so
really
far.
creepy and good.
Very, very well done. All right, what's the one prop that you stole from any set?
In the history?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I stole a little ashtray that was in the office of Christine Baranski in The Birdcage.
Wow. Mila, top it.
So I did a show for 8 years called 70 Show. When it wrapped, we all took a bunch of because it was 8 years.
Right.
And there's a chair in the.
You took one of the actors, honey.
Damn right I did. And along with him, a chair. There's like a little chair that we used to do.
place to sit.
So, yes, exactly. On a little poo.
Uh-huh.
That's what I took. My husband.
Very nice.
That's a
Glenn?
good answer.
Well, I've actually stolen whole costumes because I have a big costume collection. And I stole a goose. I didn't steal it.
Goose?
A goose, a plaster goose from the set of The Big Chill when we were all watching the football game. And recently I put it on Instagram because I was moving and I said, I don't need this anymore. And I said, if anybody can guess what scene of one of my movies this goose is in, and you only kind of see it.
Very briefly.
And a guy from Kentucky guessed it, and I sent the goose to him.
Oh my God, that is so charming. You're adorable, man.
Yeah.
I know, she is adorable.
You are.
I know.
He got the still of. I said, there's the goose. So he got it.
Lovely, man. Give it up for the cast and crew. 4 good days, ladies and gentlemen.